The Invasive Impact: The Sea Lamprey's Influence on the Great Lakes Ecosystem by Adrian Renowitz. So today I will be going over various subtopics on how the sea lampreys affected the Great Lakes. So our table of contents overview today is, first up, the Great Lakes. Then I will be going into what sea lampreys are and how they got there. Then I will talk about the impact on native species and the economic effects. And lastly, I will go over the methods that are used to control them. So, what exactly are the Great Lakes? The Great Lakes are a group of interconnected lakes located on the border of the United States and Canada. They are comprised of 5 lakes: Lake Superior, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Erie, and lastly, Lake Ontario. Altogether, they contain about 21% of the planet's fresh surface water and are home to more than 3,500 species, including the sea lampreys. The scientific name for the sea lamprey is Petromyzon marinus. They are a parasitic fish that is native to the Atlantic Ocean. The species feed by hooking their mouth, which you can see very clearly in this photo right here. They're like sharp claw-like mouth onto the host fish, and then they proceed to feed off of the bodily fluids of the host. And some of the fish they often feed off of are trout, sturgeon, salmon, and many, many more. And how exactly did they get there? In 1835, they were first spotted in the Great Lakes in Lake Ontario. At first, they were contained to Lake Ontario before the Welland Canal, as you can see, which connects Lake Ontario and Lake Erie, was built. You can see it even better in this photo. Lake Ontario is pretty much closed off from all of the other lakes, except for Lake Erie, which is connected to Lake Ontario by the Welland Canal. So once this was built, it allowed the sea lampreys to spread into Lake Ontario, or into Lake Erie from Lake Ontario, and from Lake Erie, they were then able to get into Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, and Lake Superior, effectively having invaded all 5 of the Great Lakes. Impacts on native species. So they started to outcompete many of the native species for resources and actually preyed on a lot of the native fish in the Great Lakes. Just to focus on lake trout here for a second. So as you can see right here, the lake trout was doing pretty well with its population. It was at a natural decline. But once the sea lampreys were introduced, that continued that rate of decline. But once the sea lampreys started being controlled, which I believe was about where this giant blue drop comes into play in the sea lamprey population, it allowed for the lake trout to finally have their population recover from the damage that is being done by the sea lampreys. And fishing is one of the major sources of revenue in the Great Lakes region. The fish that are caught often include whitefish, salmon, and trout. And these may seem familiar because they are a lot of the species that the sea lampreys feed off of. So this graph right here shows the commercial harvest of lake trout in Lake Superior in thousands of kilograms. So this graph is a lot similar to the last one that I showed, specifically focusing on lake trout, but this graph is focusing more so on the commercial harvest in only Lake Superior, which is one of the Great Lakes. And so, as you can see and was shown in the last graph, there was a similar steady almost trend until I believe this is where in around 1955 when there was this very giant drop. The Jurassic change, I believe, may have been due to the introduction of sea lampreys into the Great Lakes region. And control methods. So today I'll be going over 3 control methods: lampricides, barriers, and pheromones. So lampricides kill the larvae of the sea lampreys. Thankfully, they're able to target the larvae, like they don't affect any of the other species in the ecosystem, which is good. So some of the common ones I have shown here are TFM, and another is Bailuicide, which is also known as niclosamide. Next is barriers, as you can see right here. They prevent sea lampreys from going into spawning habitat. So basically what that means is sea lampreys need special grounds for breeding. They need special soft gravel that they can burrow into and have their larvae. So by putting up these barriers, it helps to prevent the sea lampreys from spreading into any other potential spawning habitat. And pheromones are used to help lure the sea lampreys into the traps. Thank you for your time and have a great rest of your day.